So it's a bit darker over here because my giant unhaul pile is over here. So just bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with me. Okay, so I was inspired to do this unhaul, to show you the books that I'm unhauling, that this pile will grow probably pretty soon because of 0 by 16 and because of silly controversy that's going on with that. I'm not a founder of 0 by 16. I'm not a founding father of it, or founding mother, or founding person of it, but I am participating in it, and I'm participating in it in a few ways, and in my own way, meaning that I do want to reduce my TBR, meaning that I'm still probably going to buy books, I already have, meaning that I'm just going to do what I want, and I'm going to do it in a conscious way, because I think 0 by 16 is about being a conscious reader more than anything else, and being aware of what you have. I don't think anyone is trying to make anybody feel guilty about their TBR. I don't think it's about guilt. I think it's about personal decisions and personal experiences. If that means reading everything on your TBR, that means getting rid of all the books you don't want to read, that means doing whatever, that means keeping all the books you want to read, and not keeping all the books. It depends on you. And I think it's important to remember, and also important that, Raylene from Pat from Prongs, or Max from Well Done Books, or Liz from Liz Loves Lit, or any of the other people who started this aren't going to come to your house and be like, oh, you bought books today, or oh, you didn't read that book that you had forever, and punch you in the face and be like, what, or like drop kick you. It's not like that. I think we all know that. We're book people. I'm also wearing my pajamas because pajamas. That was horrible and I need to stop. Also, I've been watching The Nightly Show with Larry Wilmore, who he replaced Stephen Colbert. It is flipping hilarious. I caught up on it. It is so great. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. I like it more than the Daily Show. I like it more than Stephen Colbert. It is so great. And Larry Wilmore's dimples are fantastic. Okay, so let's get to the book on haul. So one thing that 0 by 16 is making me do is making me pick up books that I've had for a long time and starting to read them and going, I don't actually like this that much. And the first book I don't have with me because I have it in my book bag. Should I go get it? Let's go get it together. Because my iMovie's so broken, and so I have to use my mom's when I want to edit things. And so, yeah, that's why none of my videos are really edited. And it's just like a fun experience for everyone when Emma's videos aren't edited, right? We have a great time. My mom walks in, and I'm like, oh, she's here. Where the hell did I put this effing book? Oh, okay, here, I found it. Gosh, guys. I've had Uptown Funk in my head for days. Okay, beyond the point. Alright, so I started reading this book yesterday, and I just wasn't getting into it. I don't think I'm going to get into it. And that book is a book that I got at a library sale, and it's The Saffron Kitchen by Yasmin Crowther. This is about British Iranian people, and although the writing is really beautiful, I just found the story boring. And I'm not saying that none of these issues aren't important, or the story isn't important, or whatever. I just wasn't getting into it. So that's something 0 by 16 has been making me do. Read the books I've had for a while and wasn't sure about, and I just wasn't into it. So, next book I'm getting rid of because I don't think I'm going to read it anytime soon. I don't even know if I'm ever going to read this book, and I'm never going to read this copy. And that was Middlemarch by George Eliot. This copy is super old. I got it at a thrift store. It's just, no, I don't know. I don't feel the need to read this book. So, next book I also got at a library sale, and it just sounds horribly depressing, and I don't like depressing memoirs. I can deal with depressing fiction a lot more than I can deal with depressing memoirs. I think it says something about myself, but that I'm horrible, I don't know. But that is Truth and Beauty by Ann Patchett. I want to read Ann Patchett, but this book is really hard from what I understand and very exhausting. And maybe when I'm older, this will be a better experience and I'll be able to understand it more. Next book, you're going to be like, Emma, what are you doing? But I'm getting rid of it because I want a better copy if I'm going to read it. And secondly, I can check it out in my library. And secondly, I'm not that interested in it. And I know people are going to be like, oh my god. And I know like Holly from Library of the Edge of the World really likes his author. And that is Kafka on the Shore by Haruki Murakami. I don't want to read this because it doesn't sound interesting to me. I don't personally like character or like literary fiction that only follows a couple people. Or follows it's a very small story. I like sort of big stories. So this doesn't interest me that much. I could be wrong. The next book is a book that I literally got because I just want to sell it to my new independent bookstore because I got it for 50 cents and I was like, I want to give it to them because, they're new and like people really like this. And I love the first book. Well, I really love the first movie, but that's Bridget Jones' Mad About That Boy by Helen Fielding. I found this at a thrift store and it was 50 cents and it's in perfect condition, so I'm going to give it to them. I love Bridget Jones, but from what I've heard, this book is just going to make me sad, so I don't want to read it. Next is a book I've read, and I just don't want it anymore because it was okay. I liked it, but it was okay. And that is The Lux by Anna Govertson. I read it a few years ago. It was alright, but I don't need to own it. Next is The Bronze Horseman by Paulina Simmons. Not interested. That's the point there. This is a book I started reading, and I just found it really painful, a lot of secondhand embarrassment. And that is I've Got Your Number by Sophie Kinsella. I enjoy Sophie Kinsella about half the time, and half the time I found her books very painful, and this was one of those times. Another Sophie Kinsella book I'm getting rid of is Remember Me, because I don't like amnesia stories. Samantha Who is the only exception. Do you guys remember that show? It was pretty great. Next is The Great and Terrible Beauty by the wondrous Libba Bray. I love Libba Bray, but I've tried to read this a million times, and I just couldn't get into it. Next is a book that I have no idea why I bought. I bought it from Book Depository from Better World Books, so all the money is going to charity at least. And that is They Call Me Naughty Lola, Personal Ads from London Review of Books by David Rose. It's just a stupid book that I'm not interested. Next is a book that I got a better copy of, and that's Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I got a really nice copy, so. Next is a crappy copy of this book that I do want to read. My sister has a Brita copy, so I'll borrow it from her, and that's North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. Next is a book that I'm also going to give to my independent bookstore that I got for $5, I want to say, and that is Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. I don't know why I bought it. I'm not that interested in Steve Jobs. Although my dad looks so much like Steve Jobs. Like, his hair, it's crazy. Next is a book that I don't want to read because I don't think I'm ever going to read it. I just don't know. And that is The Life and Times of Thunderbolt Kid by Bill Bryson. I enjoy Bill Bryson, but I'm not that interested in reading this. I don't know. Although Bill Bryson is an adorable man. I've seen interviews. He's really adorable. Next is All Too Human by George Stephanopoulos. He's one of the hosts of GMA, Good Morning America, and he's also used to be the press secretary for Bill Clinton. And I don't know why I bought this. I got it at a thrift store. Again, don't know why I bought it. Next is a book that I've had forever, and I don't think I'm going to read. I know you guys are all going to be like, oh, but that's The Number One Ladies Detective Agency by Andrew McCall Smith. Ooh. Getting to it. Next, the book I started and I couldn't get into it, and that was 5/4 of the Orange by Joanne Harris. I love Joanne Harris because I love chocolate, but couldn't get into this. And How to Love by Katie Kintugo. This book just sounds painful, and I'm not interested in it. So I feel like these are all the... Oh, I hit my guitar. That was very uncool. Next, Perfect Chemistry by Simone Eccles. Impulse buy a couple years ago, and I'm not impulsed to read it. Next is a book that I was like, no, when I heard Barry Baz Pierce say that this book was so pretentious, and if he says it's pretentious, Emma doesn't want to read it, and that's The Marriage Plot by Jeffrey Eugenides. Also, The Correctioners by Jonathan Franzen, mostly because this book is terrible, and also because I don't really like Jonathan Franzen as a person, and that does kind of play a role for me. Next is The Lux by Nip, the first two books. I know people love this series. I thought the first book was very mediocre, so... And finally, a book that is technically my sister's, but I thought I'd show it because I like a little hate in my life, and that's City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, which I've tried to read a couple times and been like, no. So that is my book on haul. I hope you enjoyed it. If you were offended by any of the books I'm getting rid of, I just want you to know that everyone has different folks, different strokes, different mokes. Go watch Larry Wilmore. He tells you, you learn things. Anyway, have a wonderful day.